Someone asked me this week, Andy, do you ride in the rain? And my answer was, mate, I live in England. There's a bear in the woods. I joke, but I do live in England, so if I don't ride in the rain, then I'm not going to ride very much at all. But it made me think, I have found ways to keep training through all weathers and to get the miles done. So I thought I'd run through a few things I found to keep training whatever the weatherman throws at us. Some equipment I rely on, but also some unexpected benefits of putting yourself through conditions like this. Hello my friends, welcome back to the channel and another ultracycling related video. And it is a pretty minging day, to be completely honest with you. I've sat in all day waiting for a gap in the rain to get out and do a ride. But at least it does give me some pretty perfect conditions to talk about riding in the rain. This one isn't going to be a big endurance ride. I normally ride long distances and film the whole thing. But this one, it's getting dark, so I want to get a couple of hours done and then get home into the dry and the warm. As I said, I'm going to run through some of the things that I put in place to keep on training, because I'm an ultracyclist, so I can't pick my weather. For example, racing through Europe this summer, I raced 4,000 kilometers, and during that race we had 4 days straight of heavy rain. So there's no getting around that. If you don't ride in the rain, you're in deep trouble. This isn't going to be a long one, so I'll get straight into it. But the first thing I would say on riding in the rain is, don't be a martyr. Don't look for opportunities to go out and soak yourself, make yourself ill. I could have gone out earlier today and would have been really nice to get out with a few more hours to ride. Believe it or not, one of these is about mudguards. Seems to have survived fine. But thankfully this weekend my coach has given me free rein to ride wherever I want. So I sat on the couch watching YouTube videos all afternoon. But what I did at the same time was use the Met Office in the UK, the Met Office weather app, because they have maps with satellite data for weather. So I can see a bit later in the afternoon the weather's going to pass over and I'll have a window to go riding. And it's pretty accurate. I think it depends on the system you use. If you make use of that kind of data, you can save yourself quite a lot of discomfort. This road is awful, bear with me. So I'm sure you're a grown adult and you know how to check a weather forecast and then ride when it's not raining, but reality is if you've got a training plan that you want to stick to or you have to stick to, then riding in the rain is going to really help stick to that plan. For me, I try to treat it like a bit of an adventure or a challenge. Getting wet is not a major issue. Most people dread getting stuck in the rain. They would not ride to the office, they'll get a car. I've always had banter from colleagues. Did you get wet today? But the reality is, it's water. You get in the shower, you get wet, you get dry again. It's really not a big deal. Rain's no different. So let's start with comfort then, because there's a couple of other categories that I kind of identified. But comfort-wise, the first thing, the most important thing that so many people don't bother with is mudguards. The difference I feel when I put my mudguards on, I put them on and take them off the same time every year. Pretty much when daylight savings hits, the days get much shorter, my mudguards are going on at that point. I strip and rebuild the bike, re-grease everything, and put the mudguards on for the winter. And from the very first time I fitted mudguards, the satisfaction is never, ever wasted on me. When I plow through puddles, I got a nice warm, dry backside. The bike's so much easier to clean as well. They're really an essential piece of kit for riding through the winter in England. I use SKS Blue Mel's. They do need mounting points on the frame to fit them and they're pretty sturdy. But if you ride a carbon bike that doesn't have the fixing points, there are kits that just grip onto the frame. For about 30 odd pounds, it's such good value. The last set I had lasted me 3 years, I've just replaced them. One thing I will say though, don't just plow through every puddle you see, because there might be a ginormous pothole under there that you cannot see, so don't fall into that one. The next one, shoes. I've got pretty big chunky winter boots from Lake. They weren't that cheap really, I did get a discount, but for years, up until I got those, I used the neoprene overshoes. It makes such a big difference. If you just stick the overshoes on, you can tape up the holes in the bottom of your shoes if they're summer shoes, and suddenly your feet are so much more comfortable. Raincoats. Seems like a pretty obvious one, but I've got 2 different sizes, 2 different thicknesses. For this summer, I've got a very thin Endura race cape or something like that. It does the job of being a pretty minor barrier between me and the rain, but that's about it. It's not very warm or insulating at all. But for racing through warmer climates like this summer, or through Europe, I was wet for 4 days, and it was plenty really. Although, I did need my foil blanket at one point. But when you get to those really cold, really wet days, then you need something a bit more heavy duty really. I've got an old Van Rysel jacket that's lasted me for years really. It cost me about 30 quid, and I've used it for about 4 years now. And it's crazy considering what you pay for. If you've seen the Albion Zoa, I think it is, rain jacket, it's 300 or 400 quid. My one was about 30. It hasn't got a hood, but I can live without a hood. It's mad what you can pay compared to what's available for much less money if you're willing to look like you collect the trolleys at Asda for a living. That jacket is bright fluorescent green, and it has white reflective stripes on it. It's very bright, so I kind of like that really. It's not very fashionable, but then look at me. Gloves wise, very important, but I haven't really cracked that yet. I do have some insulated gloves and they do an alright job, but to be honest, I find on the wetter days, the rain's getting in one way or another, whether I want it or not. I think what I'll go for when I actually remember to order them are those insulated freezer gloves, work gloves. If you've got a link to a decent pair of those, then let me know, because I'll probably be needing those pretty soon, sadly. Well, I hope you can hear me alright, because it is crazy windy out. It's like some kind of tropical storm or something. Loads of wind and rain, but boiling hot. But that jacket kind of leads me on to the next point, really. If any of this is useful, or you're into videos about ultra training, kit and adventures, then give the video a like or subscribe. Windy. Getting out in this kind of weather and getting the training done is the aim. It's all well and good, but you need to be seen in this kind of weather. Where I live, the daylight lasts about 8 hours this time of year, and even during the middle of the day, it's pretty dark. So getting the training done is up there in priorities, but not getting hit by a car is pretty high too. I've been hit by 2 cars, so take it from me. It's no fun, it really hurts. Be safe, be seen. That jacket looks ridiculous. It's much cheaper than the top end equivalents, but you cannot miss me. You run me over wearing that thing and you are not looking. So the jacket really helps. I've basically wrapped the whole rear end of my bike in reflective tape. It cost about 3 quid from Amazon, and I don't care if it looks less clean. On the road, on days like today, my bike is lit up like a bloody Christmas tree, and that is what I want. Not only that, I have dynamo lights. I don't ever want to have to worry about those dying on me, so as long as I'm moving, they're shining. I do have a separate rear light that flashes like crazy, and I really want to make sure people see me from as far down the road as possible. So you're out getting the training done, you dry-ish, people are giving you a wide berth in their cars, you can just crack on and train. One thing I think you gotta consider is, what if you break down? Getting a puncture in weather like this can be a real disaster. If you don't have the right equipment to fix it, you can't fix it quickly, you're going to be stuck at the side of the road, getting wetter and colder. Most of the reason you're warm is because you're riding. So if you can't ride, you're going to get cold. I think if you want to be out training all through the winter, then keeping your bike in good shape, serviced and ready to go is really important. And checking in on your gear every now and then, making sure you've got all the right stuff, your tubes aren't crumbled and old, and you can just change that tube and get home into the warm. That's really important, because I've been stuck enough times and it sucks. Getting stuck on random country lanes in the summer is bad enough, let alone freezing your butt off, soaking wet in the middle of nowhere. Riding style, I think riding style needs to change slightly too. I mentioned not riding through too many puddles because there could be a pothole underneath them, and I've seen people go to hospital on club rides because of that. Riding round corners fast, going over a wet drain cover, that might take you down. The white markings on the roads, when they get wet, they can be a real problem. Sometimes even if the road's been dry for a while and the first rain, all the oil that was sat on the roads can suddenly go really viscous and wet, and yeah, just got to be conscious of all those things to not come down and crash on those wet training roads. I'm climbing, sorry. Out of breath. So after all that, you got the training done, you got home safely. The final thing that I think is really important for me, riding all winter, is cleaning your bike straight away. It does not take very long for your chain to become rusty, for your cassette to be grimed up so much it's really hard to clean. Your chain set is in bad shape. If you just hose the bike down and re-lube and clean the chain set, that can make all the difference. And the bike will carry on all through the winter with relatively few issues. Nearly the top. But if you are like me and a bit of a hypocrite occasionally, I'll be honest with you, if I get home and it's still raining or I'm too tired, then I'll just quickly hose the bike down and I will clean it the next day. If you skip it all together, it's going to be in bad shape before you know it. Whew. Almost at the top of the hill now. I'm being very dramatic. This is a very small hill. This is about the highest point on my ride today, so I'm almost finished. My coach let me do basically whatever I want this weekend, so a couple of hours, I'm gonna go home and get back into the warm. But the last thing I wanted to touch onto was benefit of doing this. There is benefit to putting yourself through some discomfort, some rain, some cold. I did it all last winter. I ride endurance miles basically every weekend, pretty much. Getting through each ride, there's a sense of accomplishment. But getting through a whole season, getting wet as far as you can be out on your ride, having to get home, it does suck sometimes. But like I said, I raced 4,000 kilometers through Europe this summer. I had 4 solid days of rain. It's really tough, but for whatever reason, I felt really good through that whole race, and especially felt really good through the rain. So while I don't think it's a great idea to go out and put yourself through misery if you really don't want to be there, it does build up a special level of resilience that you will benefit from later. And a big chunk of the negative stuff that you have to deal with, you can mitigate through this stuff anyway. So those are the things that I use, but not everything. I don't want to give you my life story. But if you've got tips of your own, then please put them in the comments for me, for everybody else, and especially the gloves. If you've got a link for some cheap but effective gloves, then let me know, because I'm gonna need them. Anyway, this is getting a bit silly, so I'm going home. I'll see you all on the next one. I have no idea if you heard any of this video.